Artificial intelligence is changing the world, right? It writes everything, email, it creates images, it answers the questions, and now some employees claim that it may also be deciding who loses a job. 26 current and former Meta employees have filed a lawsuit in the US federal court. In fact, they allege that the company relied on AI-based monitoring system and internal activity matrix while making layoff decisions. Well, according to lawsuit, employees on maternity leave, medical leave, or disability leave appeared less active in the company's tracking system and they were unfairly affected. Well, Meta has denied these allegations though, and they say that managers and not AI made employment decisions. Now imagine you are an Indian software engineer working in America. You are on an H-1B visa. You take medical leave after your surgery, or you take parental leave to care for your newborn child. If your performance appears lower because you are officially on leave, and if you are laid off, the consequences can be much bigger than you think. Well, the moment the H-1B worker loses a job, another 60-day clock that begins to tick. Find another employer, transfer the visa, or prepare to leave the country. That is why this lawsuit, it is attracting so much attention among foreign workers. The case is still before the court though, and no final decision has been made yet, but it also has raised an important question. As companies increasingly use AI and digital monitoring system, how can employees be so sure that approved leave, medical emergency, and personal situations are treated fairly? Here, experts say that foreign workers should carefully document every approved leave, keep written communication with the HR, and maintain complete employment record. They also recommend building emergency saving because sudden layoff can create both financial and immigration challenges. Well, tech today, it is making companies smarter, but it is also creating new questions about fairness, specifically for people whose visa status depend on keeping their jobs. And yes, speaking of Canada here, for many Indians, moving abroad, it has never been just about building a career. It has always been about building a life. A life where one day parents can also join them, grandchildren can grow up with grandparents, and families can finally live under one roof after years of sacrifice. But today, that dream has suffered a major setback. Yes, the Canadian government has announced that it is freezing new applications under the Parents and Grandparents program. That means if you were planning to sponsor your parents for permanent residency in Canada, you can no longer submit a new application. Well, the government has also stopped accepting new interest to sponsor forms and will not issue fresh invitations until further notice. Now, can you imagine the whole situation of an Indian family who's living in Canada? They have spent years studying, working, paying taxes, finally getting a PR, or they become a Canadian citizen. They always believed that after settling down, they would bring their parents to Canada. But suddenly, that plan has been put on hold. So the question is, why has Canada taken this whole decision? Well, the answer, it lies in growing pressure on housing, healthcare, and public services. The government says it wants to control immigration number and reduce the growing backlog of applications. Right now, more than 60,000 parent sponsorship applications are already waiting in the system, and processing it can take years. Under the current immigration plan, Canada will process only a limited number of applications each year, and only from people who had earlier applied before the freeze. For thousands of Indian families, this is more than just an immigration policy. It is an emotional decision. Parents who were waiting to spend their retirement with their children, they may now have to continue living thousands of kilometers away. Families who thought that they would finally reunite may now have to wait for an unknown period. There is still one option available, and that is the super visa. Parents and grandparents can still visit Canada for longer period of time under this particular visa. But remember here, it is only a temporary solution. It does not offer permanent residency, and families must arrange expensive private medical insurance before visitors are generally not covered under Canada's public health care system. For many Indians, Canada has always represented family values and long-term security. But today, Those dreams are becoming much harder to achieve. And yes, while some Indians are struggling to bring their parents to Canada, thousands of others are making an even bigger decision. They are leaving America and they are coming back to India.